This time on Ask Rad Rat, we're talking about if skate technology is going to keep improving to a point where we'll get better and better at skateboarding, or if we're kind of at the top already. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel where you can learn new things about skateboarding. Today I'm answering your questions on the series Ask Rad Rat. You can submit your own questions on my website, radratvideo.com, or on Patreon as well. Got a few of them for you today. The first one is from Pedro, who says, I want to know what type of tricks I can do with a messed up lower back. Knowing boneless and finger flips are out of the question because I can't bend down for those. He is also doing a lot of foot plants, flat ground stuff like toe flips and pressure flips because my body doesn't feel the impact that much. So that was my main suggestion too, like no comply with boneless stuff. Plant your foot, you pop the board. If it doesn't look like it's going to work out, you just bail out of it. You don't even have to attempt to land it. That's what I spent a lot of time doing. I used to have very bad knee problems, and that was something that I did a lot of. Lots of no complies, lots of like Caspers, because Caspers are fine. It depends. I mean, it's a different issue with your back than with my knee. Because for me, I could do switch stuff a lot easier. Not easier like skill-wise. It was still really difficult, but like I could do it without getting hurt as quickly. But the big thing that I would suggest is like curb stalls. That's something else I did that I had a ton of fun with. Like, it's not exciting. You're not going to want to film it and share it because you just did this mind-blowing trick or whatever. But for me, I was putting together lines of like, I'm in a parking lot and there's a curb on this side, there's a few parking spots, and there's a curb on this side. So I would like ride up to the first curb, do a disaster or a tail stall or something, and then I would do like frontside flip, fakie tray flip, like a half cab flip, and then I would try to do a backside tail stall on the other curb. Like, it's not exciting, again, and you're not doing high speed crazy stuff that's you're gonna want to share on Instagram, but it's fun, it's low impact, and you're gonna have a good time. And I think that's what's more important. If you have something that's like that, very mellow obstacles that you can just do tricks on pretty consistently, and if you bail, it's not a big deal. You know, if I miss a disaster, I land in some grass, and I'm 6 inches above the ground where I started, so I'm not like slamming. I think that was a really good way to go. So if you can do a bunch of foot plant stuff, you can do that same thing. Ride up, do a backside pivot, maybe even try to shove it out if you can, then do a no comply pressure flip, and then whatever. Like, I think that's a really fun thing to do. You can have a good time with it without pushing yourself too hard physically. And you can mix things up. There's a lot of different styles. You can do frontside, backside. You can go into it fakie. That was something else that I was having a lot of fun with. Like, come up fakie ollie up over the curb to a rock, or would it be fakie rock? Yeah, and then like stuff like that. There's a lot of weird things you can do. You can go fakie, try to fakie ollie into a backside pivot. That's actually kind of hard. There's a lot of stuff that's you can mix things up without pushing yourself too hard with your back. So I had a bunch of fun doing that when I was having knee problems, and that may work for your back as well. Maybe like really twisty stuff would be harder. I'm not sure what that would do, but that would be my recommendation. Okay, next question. I've caught myself saying trick before when I go back to edit. Did it again this time. All right, this is from Jorge, who says, is a frontside 900 an NBD? If so, why not? If so, why? Yeah, frontside 900 is definitely NBD, but I think it's kind of an interesting thing, because if you think about it, when you do a fakie 720 or a normal 720, because they're always fakie, you could think about it almost the same as a switch 720, switch frontside 720, right? Like, yeah, you kind of invert a little bit, but I think the issue is, like, if you were to go frontside, if you watch like a frontside 540 or whatever, you kind of invert slightly and you're looking through your body down at the ramp. If you're going backside, you can see easily the way that you can like bend over and you can see. If you're going front side, you've got to look down and you can't see as well, which is interesting because, like I said, the fakie 720 or like a fakie to fakie 5, you would go up and you can see if you just invert a little bit the other way. Like it's weird. It's weird how it's so much harder because you don't really pop, right? It's just the way that you are inverting a little bit. So I think a Frontside 900 is theoretically possible. Like, why not? But yeah, it's definitely not been done. Maybe nowadays, we've done 1080s and 1260s. It may be possible to do a Frontside 900. I mean, it's definitely possible. Like, the physics are the same as backside. It's just a mental thing. It's a difficulty of being able to see what you're doing type of thing, and not necessarily like a physics challenge. But hopefully we'll see that one day. I've always been curious about that one too. Okay, next question is from Randy. He says, I always see skaters do a grind that is like a 50-50, but they lock in with the right back wheel and the left front wheel, or the opposite. Is that just a 50-50, or is that a different trick? You know what? It's kind of interesting because, yeah, that's just a normal 50-50, but I've been seeing that a lot more lately too, because people skate with a lot wider boards than they used to, and really loose trucks, which they didn't used to. So if you go back and you watch someone 50-50 a flat bar back in the day, they're just like in the middle of both trucks and they ride along. Now you can have this truck turn slightly this way, this truck turns slightly this way, and you're locked in. Your board isn't going to want to rotate because you're locked against the wheel and the tilted truck on both sides. So like you can actually lock in and you can wind up and do a trick out of a 50-50 without the board just wanting to slide back and forth on the trucks. And it's just weird because I noticed that recently. Like, it hasn't been that long that 50-50s have been looking that way. I know it's kind of weird. Like, there's no reason they wouldn't have. It's not like a style that you consciously do. It's just like, it just makes sense to do it that way. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Yeah, 50-50s on round rails especially are going to look like that if your trucks are relatively loose and your board is relatively wide. But there's nothing that makes it a different name. So, next question is from Hiza-sama, hopefully. He says, with technology becoming better and better as the days go on, how do you think technology would improve skateboarding when it comes to equipment and clothing? Skate shoes, pads, etc. I think skateboarding stuff has become good enough. Meaning, like, if I were to put my board right now in a time capsule for 25 years, and a pro skater who's in his diapers right now, and he gets that board as a pro, he can probably do anything he could do with his futuristic board with my old school one. I don't think a lot of the advancements that are going to be happening in the future are going to be performance based necessarily. I think that the stuff that we're seeing now, I think the most recent thing that would make a difference is the trucks, the suspension trucks by Avenue, I think they're called, where that helps like reduce the vibration because you're kind of suspended slightly. Their marketing claims anyway. I haven't skated any before, but that actually helps you ollie a little bit higher, helps you go faster because less of your speed is being lost to friction from vibrating of your wheels and all that. But if you're really used to those trucks and you break your board and I hand you mine instead and it's the same size and all that stuff, you're not going to have a problem adjusting back. Like, it's not a huge leap. It's not like going from having no nose to having a nose or having a flat board to having concave. It's not a huge thing. It's more mild, like a minor performance thing. The other thing is making stuff more durable. So there's the brand Lithe that's been making the boards with like composite. Well, it's on the tails, and there's like carbon fiber in there too. I think people who skate those that I've heard really love them. Again, I haven't skated this myself, but people love that. I think they're slightly less heavy than normal boards, and they're more durable, maybe keep their shape slightly better, so potentially you could pop just a hair higher on them, maybe. But like, that's more of a durability thing. My board, my just regular wooden board that I bought at a skate shop, if you run it over with a car, it'll break. This one will bend slightly and then pop back. Like, that's cool, but it's not going to make you skate better. And I can't think of anything. I mean, no one in history in the 80s could have thought of how boards would be now. But I can't think of anything that would make you be able to skate better. It may be that we'll realize the correct height for trucks, and we'll realize that if you make them 1/16 of an inch shorter, but the wheels, a little bit wider, that makes your pop slightly better. But we're within the limits of preference. I might skate a higher truck than you because I just like how it feels. And my performance will be better because I like it, not because in a lab it was tested and determined that the physics work out slightly better. It's just like what I like to skate versus what you like to skate. And stuff will get more durable, stuff will get better, like your bearings will probably be able to roll faster in the future as more advanced manufacturing methods come about or something like that. But I don't think your performance is really going to get a lot better. The one thing I'm not entirely sure about is shoes. Because, with pads, also you mentioned pads, they may get better and more safe. But again, how much do you rely on that feeling of safety to do better tricks? It's not like, oh, my helmet was tested to 1200 G is going to make you commit more to a trick, like it may be better, but it's not going to make you do anything better. Pads might get better, but shoes, I don't know what they might look like. Maybe the friction of like doing tricks could be tweaked slightly, or like they're more flexible so that you can feel the board a little bit better, but we're talking really, really minor differences. So I'm thinking like right now, if you give a pro basketball player shoes from the 90s, like basketball shoes from the 90s, and you want to play against him, he'll still destroy you. Maybe his footwork is going to be 0.1% off from what it would have been, but he's still going to be a very, very good player. If you give a pro skateboarder in the future a board from right now, they'll still be able to tray flip on it. They'll still be able to lock into grinds. They'll do just fine. I think the biggest thing that might be different is, again, just preference level stuff, and we're in like widths, heights. What size wheels are we going to use in the future? Are they going to get a little bit bigger? Are they going to get a little bit smaller? Are boards going to still be around 825? Or are they going to get a little bit thinner like they used to be? Are they going to get a little wider still? Who knows? But you can still do stuff. So hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe there's going to be some crazy new thing that comes about. They're going to realize you don't just need a tail and a nose. You need tails on the other sides. And it's going to invent this whole new way to do tricks. I don't know. No one can really predict the future of skateboarding, but I think our equipment right now is very, very good. I talked about different types of board, like shaped boards and stuff that we could do to make certain tricks easier, but as an overall board, still, even if you got used to those tricks, they're still doable on an average board. They just might be a little bit easier. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to see crazy new inventions come about that made me good all of a sudden, but that's what I actually expect to happen. So that's it for this time. If you got more questions, go to radratvideo.com and submit them there. You can also submit them on Patreon, where you're guaranteed to get an answer somehow. And aside from that, to make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and YouTube will recommend some more stuff that you can check out. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching.